that the words, that the Dhamma, that the teaching of the Lord Buddha points to the truth. Explains the truth in worldly terms, but is not the same thing as the truth. And I want you to remember this very well. When I talk about the experiences of Dhamma, then this is a metaphor for the truth. It's not the truth itself. It's not the experience itself. For you, the experience might be different, or is most probably different, or sometimes even very different. So when you just look for the same experience that I had, then you're fooled. When you're looking for the experience that the Lord Buddha had, then you're fooled. You're just expecting something that you will never ever experience. Or you only experience within your imagination, and when you experience it within your imagination, you compare it with the words of the Lord Buddha, and then you get fooled into believing it. This is the danger of Dhamma. The Dhamma is a pointer to the truth. The Dhamma is a pointer to a lot and various experiences. So when I talk about Samadhi, the experience of Samadhi, or the experience of Upachara Samadhi or Access Samadhi is like this or like that, because this comes out of my experience. It is similar to the experience that Ajahn talks about when he talks about Samadhi, when he talks about Upachara Samadhi or the deep state of Samadhi. So don't forget it. Always remember, don't look for the experience, don't look for what you think the experience might be or think the experience might mean. It's a waste of time, and it's a waste of effort, and the only one who's behind it is avijja and the kilesa. So when I talk about Upachara Samadhi, getting a similar of this is getting into a glass house. Before you go in, you're in a storm and lightning and thunder, and the rain is hitting you, the lightning is frightening you, and the thunder might be frightening you or might be terrorizing you. Once you get in the glass house of the Upachara Samadhi, the rain is still there. You see it or you hear it, the thunder is still there, and the lightning is there, but it will not have any effect on you. You're in a safe place, and you know that you're in a safe place. And that holds on for a while, until you leave that glass house and go out back again. And the moment you are out of the glass house of the Upachara Samadhi, then the lightning will strike you again, the thunder will terrorize you again, and the rain will hit you again. And don't get fooled by, opening the door and closing it. Opening the door, you think you're just going in, but the moment you make a step in, you close the door. And you do that all the time, and never ever have the place of really rest. So Upachara Samadhi is entering. Once one enters, one closes the door from inside. This is a very, very common experience that people think they are in Upachara Samadhi, but yet have not entered Upachara Samadhi. Because they always think they are already there, but they have not really entered into it from inside. And it's the same thing. So this is just a symbol. It's a safe place we still see all the things that are happening around us, and we might even see a whole new world that comes into sight the moment we stop our thought. It's a world of experience, the world of outer senses, or whatever you call it. It's a strange new world. But it can only enter our mind the moment we close the door from inside. We are safe. We are not concerned with the world. So the sounds outside do not terrorize us or frighten us or make us worried in any way. If they still do it, we have not yet entered that safe haven. So, please remember this. Don't look for the experience. Even if you had the experience of Upachara Samadhi sometimes in the past, just better forget about it. The only thing that brings us in this state of Upachara Samadhi, or the deep state of Samadhi, is fixing our attention on the one point. Getting one point. Getting in Upachara is getting beyond our world of thoughts, imagination, worries, fears, and doubts. And then we can experience whatever else is like. When we go in the realm of the Appana Samadhi, then in the beginning the body disappears, and then the whole world disappears. You can describe it as falling into a deep well. In the beginning, while we are falling, the fall can be very slow or can be very fast. We still see the world around us, but it disappears slowly or fast, until there is only knowingness. The only thing left is knowing. And the only thing that we remember when we come out, that we have not been asleep, that we have been awake, completely awake, and we are completely refreshed when we come out. So these are the effects it will have. Don't look for this deep well, don't look for the experience, just stay with the word. The moment the word Buddha disappears, and your mind is so concentrated that you cannot even think it, then the mind is so firm that it can enter this deep state of samadhi. And it's the same with the breath. The moment the breath disappears, and we are not afraid to die, then we are at the top. The moment the fear comes up, we are at the beginning. So we have to overcome this fear. This fear of doubt. Whatever is doubt, what is doubt? If we ask ourselves when we go to sleep, we are never worried of waking up again. We always assume that we wake up because we are so accustomed to it. That's why we fall asleep. And we don't know where we are when we fall asleep. Do we? And it's the same thing in Samadhi. When we go in the deep state of Samadhi, we don't know where we are. We just know. And when we come back, we just know that we know. See? The dog wants to play and the chicken is afraid. And it's the same thing with the experience. They are just coming. The experiences are just coming and we are afraid. Because we don't know them, we don't know if they do us or not. So is it with the chicken, it's afraid of the dog has no mean intention. Doesn't want to, just wants to play a little bit around. Doesn't know the chicken. And so is it with a lot of things. And in our experience we are afraid, if this comes in the mind or that will come in the mind. Just observe. Observe it coming in and see what is happening. So this holds for samadhi, but the same thing holds for investigation. Once you read the talks of Dhamma, then he gives a lot of description. What is happening when you do investigation? This is happening, this is happening. When you read the talk about his enlightenment, you get a lot of views and opinions about his experience what he had. But that experience have nothing to do with reality. And even if you try to get the same experience, you are not at the same level. Looking for this experience will bring them to us, some way or the other. But the understanding that comes with this experience, or that came for Dhamma with this experience, will not arrive. And the way he describes his experience is the way in the terms of the world. In terms of the world. And in the terms of the world, we can interpret. Everybody has a different notion of what he thinks that he said. So all what we can do is just follow the proper path. And taking the examples, investigating and asking ourselves, how can we get to the same insight? What kind of method did he use to get to it? How did he do it? How did he dissect the body, or how did he do it? What does it mean for us? For us it means something different. We have to follow the path. We cannot just follow the images. The images will arise. If we think about it long enough, the images arise. Whatever we believe in, whatever we view, and whatever we think, is in the end on the path an obstacle. Because behind this view, behind this belief, behind this even knowingness, there lies religion. And it can reign in full power. Don't underestimate. The path of samadhi, of training mindfulness, of getting calm, of getting concentrated, and the path of investigation, of training panya, of training wisdom, of training insight. So insight is seeing inside the true nature. Another person's insight is not our insight. Remember this well. Another person's insight can help us to go in the right direction. But it's never our insight. So don't take it for this, as it seems to. Or don't try to get the same images. Or don't try to get the same experience. Your experience of samadhi will differ from my experience of samadhi, and it will differ from Tan Achan's and everybody else's. But once you have been into these defined stages of samadhi, like Kanika samadhi, momentary samadhi, upachara samadhi, and appana samadhi, and you hear somebody talking about it, then you will know that you have been there. Even if you would describe it differently, you would know that you have been there. Because you know the way how he describes it, it fits with your own experience, not with your own views, not with your own images about it. And that's how we can be sure. So the way of training mindfulness, the way of training concentration, and the way of training insight is having a flashlight in a dark cave and lighting out every spot of the cave. Out of this hole there might be a snake coming out. We see the snake and we observe it, and then we know this is the snake. And then we have investigated it. Out of this hole comes a bat, and that, and that, and that. But if there are some holes that we, because of our fear, or because of our views, for instance our view that we have seen it already, that's where the danger lies. That's where the darkness reigns. And you can call avijja the reign of darkness, whatever. Wherever darkness is, there is no light. When Dhamma is the light and avijja is the darkness, we have to use our flashlight of investigation to shine out the whole cave, not to leave any spot uncovered. If we know this is this, this is that, and that means everything, anything and everything. There's nothing that is exempt from this investigation, that is exempt from the shining light of God. Nothing. Not one view, not one opinion, and not one thought. Nothing is exempt. And we have to observe it, and if we are frightened of this spot, then we have to see it and overcome the fright until we can see clearly that it means no harm to us. And it doesn't mean any harm to us. It doesn't mean any harm to the citta. It might mean harm to the kilesa. But that's what we want to destroy in the first place anyway. I tell you this so clearly, and I want you to remember this. Really, really remember this. The more you read about the talks of Tonachan, the more you hear about the experience of the different things. They have just one value: to keep you interested in going to have a similar experience. But they have nothing to do with your own experience. When he talks about his enlightenment, or when he talks about overcoming greed and hate, when he describes it with this or with this or with that, this is not what you should be looking for. You should always remind yourself, how did it achieve? How did he achieve this? What kind of path did he go? When he talks about Supa and Asupa, he not only talks about the beautiful female body or the ugly male body or the beautiful male body and the ugly female body. He talks also about heaven and hell. Heaven and hell. Because heaven is something that we like, beauty is something that we like, and hell is something we loathe, and ugliness is something that we love. So in heaven and hell, everything is there. When you read the description of when Tan Ajahn Mun went to the heavenly realms and looked at the nice palaces, they were all beautiful. And when he went down to the hell realms, it was all misery. So much misery. So whatever you call asupa or supa, it's a beautiful. And when you think about the beautiful, it's something that attracts us. The asupa is the opposite. It makes us stay away. Nobody of us wants to go to hell, and everybody of us wants to go to heaven. So, everybody wants to see the beautiful things, and nobody wants to see the ugly. If a body is dissected, didn't you see just fibers of flesh and blood, be it black blood or be it red blood? And it's something, certainly not something that you choose to look on the second time. You see your immediate reaction, the mind or the head goes away from it. It just doesn't like to see it. We have to train to see this. And I often say, we have to find the balance of supa and asupa. Don't only think asupa is the beauty in form in the other sex, or the ugliness in the form of the other sex or our sex. It's also heaven and hell. It's that what makes the world go on. To want that what is beautiful and to dislike what is not beautiful. So this is the principle of duality. Heaven and hell. Beautiful, ugly. And our whole language is composed of these opposites. For every beautiful thing, there's an ugly opposite. For metta, there is greed and hate. For love, there is hate, and for greed, there is givingness, and so on, and so on, and so on. So, asupa and supa, the overcoming of greed and hate, that's why it's so important to overcome the opposite. And we have to do something. Not only remove the nurturing earth of this greed and hate that lies within our body, but also to lower the scales or the balance of our scale of beautiful and ugly. That means of our likes and dislikes, of our hate and greed, however you define it, and as long as we have practiced, we still have both. Now, observe yourself how much within your practice you're looking for the nice thing, for the peace, for the happiness. And when you see some difficulties coming up, you ask yourself, why is this practice so difficult? Why can I not have some quietude, some peacefulness, some happiness? See, dislike. You don't even register. You just try to press your mind in the direction of peaceful happiness. The difficulties, and I said it before, are a stepping stone on our way, a step on the ladder to Nibbana. If we take the hindrances that come up in order to overcome them, we make a step forward. If we think this is too much, I want to avoid it, why don't I have peace? Then we do not even make a step forward, we might even make a step back. So the hindrances along our path, maybe physical hindrance, maybe emotional hindrance, maybe hindrance of doubt, of laziness, of sloth and torpor, or whatever, are hindrances that come at a moment, and that moment tells us that we have to overcome. We have to climb the mountain of the sin. However difficult it is, the moment we set our determination of climbing that mountain, this mountain turns into a curtain of light. We just walk through, and the hindrance just disappears like hocus pocus. That is the power of determination, to face it. If you don't want to face it, the more we don't want to face it, the more difficult it is. Until we can't breathe anymore, or until we can't stay at this place anymore, until we have to see this thing, or do this thing, or do that thing, or do that. This is the power of the Kilesa, that draws us away and tell us it's not necessary to take the sacrifice. It's a waste of time. Why not resting in Samadhi? Or why not finding some peacefulness? How can you ever find some peacefulness if you don't remove all the shit from your tongue? It stings. So remove it. When you see it, once you see it, remove it. To balance the scale of beauty and ugliness, to balance the scale of like and dislike, there are lots of methods. We can do that in our daily life. Whenever we see something we don't like to do, then we do it. Whenever we see something we like to do, then we don't do it. Whenever we see something we like to eat, then we don't eat it. And whenever we see something we do not like to eat, then we eat it. We have to. All our life, we have trained our body and mind just to hanker for the things that we like. Now, in order to get a balance on the scale, we have just to do the things that we do not like. Or look at the things that we do not like. Or look at the things that we love. Or look at the things that really produce anger within ourselves. The more the anger, the more we should look at it. It's an indication. The greed or the anger, the degree of the greed or the degree of the anger is an indication that we really should investigate this kind of topic, where the things arise. In Raga Tanha, the greed for sensual desires is certainly one topic we have to look at. Now, when we are in this kind of environment, and we look at our energy level as a tank of water with thousands or millions of holes, where the water flows out. In Pali it's called asava, the things that drain the chitta, the energy that flows out of the chitta. Now, one by one, when we are in this environment, we might not have 1 million, because a lot of these holes have been stopped by the wall of this monastery. So we still have thousands or maybe multiple thousands of these holes. So we stop them one by one. The more we fill in the holes so that the energy cannot go out, the more it becomes obvious where the real energy flows out. It is the same thing, it's the same similar as cutting down a tree with two main stems. The stems of greed and hate. Once we cut all the leaves, we will see the stems. Once we cut the leaves and then we cut the little branches, then we will see the two stems of greed and hate. And that's the same thing, the same similar as a tank of water. Once we stopped all the asavas, the little things, just the little thing, and we think, oh, that's not much. Just this little thing, we stop. And in the end, there will only be two holes. And the two holes are greed and hate. And they're gone in raga tanha, the greed for sensual desire. And then we see the power. Because the water will run just through these two holes. And then, of course, with the full force of the pressure of the water tank. Before, we don't even think that these holes are important to us. Once we cut out all the asava, once we cut up all the flow out of our chitta, then we will see the important hole. And one of the important holes is raga tanha, sensual greed or sexual desire. We don't even think that we have any sexual interest. We are old enough, we are wise enough, we have done it all ago. So we don't have it. Don't get fooled. The moment you stop the holes, the moment you stop the answer, you will clearly see. And it has to be that way. And there is no one who has not seen it. There is no one who has done it and has not seen sexual desire coming, be it a woman or be it a man. It comes in full force. And if we are not prepared at that moment to counteract that force, we are lost. To counteract the force of sensual desires, and especially sexual desire, is the contemplation of the body. It's the investigation of the body that is the earth where sexual desire, sensual desire grows. So we have to open this earth, see for what it is, and take out the nutriment for the roots of greed and hate. We have to develop this weapon of turning something that is beautiful, in the same sense, something that we like, into something that is ugly, that we dislike. This is the power of our mind that we have to develop to counterforce, to have a counterforce against the attack of sexual or sensual desire. If we do not develop it, if we cannot immediately switch, if we see something where greed comes up, switch it into something that is ugly, where our loath comes up or where our hate comes up, and if hate comes up, switch it into something that is beautiful, where our greed is coming up, then we will be lost in this fight. There is no way. So we have to develop this weapon of switching. This weapon of turning the beautiful into ugly and turning the ugly into the beautiful. The faster we can do it, the safer we are. And you will see it. If greed is coming up, once you won't see it yet. As long as there are so many holes in this water tank, you won't see. You really won't see the effect. But the moment there are only 2 or 3 or 4 holes, you will see the effect very clearly. Once the mind is completely centered and sees the force of the sensual greed and sensual desires or sexual desires, and then one counteracts it, one sees the efficiency of this weapon. And the efficiency is stark. And the first time you really operate, it's stark. It's so effective. It's incredible effect. It's unbelievable effect. And it's the only thing that we have to counteract. It's the only thing that we have. So, if our desire is aroused or gets aroused by the opposite sex or the body of the opposite sex, then we turn it upside down. And the desire will instantly disappear. Once we really see that body open, we see the black blood and the yellow and the red blood and the lungs and the intestines. There is no sexual desire anymore. It has all disappeared for that moment. So, this gives us a weapon that is sufficient to counteract this great force of greed and hate, the great force of the sensual desire. And the sensual desires are rooted in this body. They are rooted in this body. They have their roots. So that's why we investigate this body. And that's why the investigation of the body is actually on 4 different levels. It's on the level of the worldling, it's on the level of the Sotapanna, it's on the level of the Sakadagan, and still is on the level of the Anagami. Up till the first grade. On the level of the Anagami, the body itself has no contents anymore. It's just an image. But it still afflicts the mind. So it is a long, long, long way that we have to investigate this body. Just this body. Over and over and over again, until we understand. And the faster we can open it up, and the faster we get disgusted with it, the better our weapon, or the sharper our weapon is. And the better can we handle the attack of sensual desire. Turn a lovely apple into some rotten apple, and you don't want to eat it. Just do that. Or a lovely bread into some moldy bread. You want to eat that moldy bread? No. Turn a lovely body into a rotten body, and you don't have no interest in it. So that is our power. That is our weapon. I'm sorry, it's the only weapon that we have in this fight against greed and death. Okay, I'm tired, so that's enough. No? She had a question? I had a question.
I was relating the Raga Tanaha, sensual desire. I wanted to ask, can only be desire for existence, can only be translated as desire for existence?
Raga? No. What are the 6 senses? The senses of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling, touching, thinking. This is Raga Tanha, that's sexual desire. Most of the time Raga Tanha, it's actually, I think it is Thai. It means sexual desire.
The other is Bhava Tanha.
Bhava Tanha is the desire for existence. Raga. Sensual greed. And sensual, and the Lord Buddha talks very clearly about it. The person who overcomes the sensual greed will be liberated. So his 6 sense faculties. Who has no interest anymore in the 6 senses. He will be liberated. But You still want to see, you still want to hear. In the night you can hear it, when some sound is coming, you want to know what it is. And it is wanting to hear. You want to know what it is. You look twice. That's wanting to see. This is the clue that stands behind.
Desire for existence doesn't count as a, I would say, the main obstacle to.
Why do you want to be if you don't have any senses? If you can't hear, if you can't smell, if you can't taste, if you can't touch, if you can't feel, if you can't think, why do you want to be here?
True.
Yes. There's no reason for being here. And I can only say, with the words of the Lord Buddha, one who has overcome the greed for the six senses, he will be liberated. So that's finished.
Makes sense.
So, then Bhava Tanha, I don't know. In terms of Dhamma, I've only, and I tell you, I have learned so little about all these different terms, about all these different philosophies. And when I tell you about the Dhamma of the Lord Buddha, then this is the absolutely rudimentary form that is necessary for doing one's practice. And that's all what I know. And my memory is so bad, even if I knew it one time, I would have forgotten it, if I don't have made an experience. So I don't know what is Bhavatanga, I don't even know what is Bhavanka or things like that. I have no idea.
Just that.
Huh?
Bhavatanga is desire for existence, but
yes.
When,
so what, but I have no, it points to something, it's a word that points to something, but I just don't have the experience to what it points to. But if it points to the six senses that I can feel, I can feel, I can touch, I can see, I can hear, that I have a real experience. But existence, what does it mean? I have no experience.
I think that when fear comes up in certain situations, even when you're in meditation sometimes, when fear comes up, it points to that desire also to, that fear to lose life and wanting to be, to exist, wanting to be here.
Yes.
Otherwise, you couldn't feel.
Yes, what you're afraid of.
Basic.
To lose your memory.
Instinctual desire
to lose your feelings. What is this construction of life?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. What is this the construction of wanting to be?
This we know. We have to investigate in order to know this.
Yes. So
these instinctual things just come up, and then you investigate.